What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's video is one of my absolute favorites, which happens to be the TBR videos. So we are going to be talking about the lovely A May, A T, A B, A R. I don't know why I said it that way. I just felt like that vibe. For those of you that are new here, my name is Jaya. I talk all things books in this corner of the internet, along with some randomness here and there. If that sounds like it's up your alley, you're definitely in the right place because we have a fiction addiction over here and we would love to have you here with us. And for those of you that are returning, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you so much for your watches. It's so exciting to know that there's other people who also share this love and joy for books and reading and just exploring new worlds of our imagination. With that being said, let's jump into the video. So as far as this video goes, many of you may know that I do tend to do kind of themed vibes for each month when I read. So this past month in April, I did a lot of young adult series that have been sitting on my physical TBR for a while. I just wanted to make some progress through those books, so I went ahead and got through those. And then the month prior to that was like a different theme. So every month is kind of unique in that sense. This month, I thought I would tackle more dystopian, sci-fi kind of fantasy vibes. So it's going to be more geared towards dystopian sci-fi versus like your classic romantic-y type books, but I was very excited to sink my teeth into every single one of these books, because this particular genre is more new to me. I have read quite a few sci-fis. In fact, I'm currently reading the Renegades series, as you can see up there, next to the Stanley Cup by my reading chair. That is what I'm going to be going back to when I'm done with this video. But while I have been enjoying Renegades and I just read Scythe, those were more in my head the young adult section of the TBR that I've been wanting to get to. So I didn't really count them towards my dystopian sci-fi, but I do read dystopian sci-fi. But this is going to be more of your classic authors that are known for those types of books and genres that may be known for those types of books. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first author that I have here is V.E. Schwab. So for those that don't know, my first taste of V.E. Schwab was The Secret Life of Addie LaRue. And I did really enjoy that book. I thought it was quite fascinating. I had originally thought it was more contemporary fiction, but as I got through the book, I realized there was essences of sci-fi in there with the fact that her life is everlasting and like some of the other things that happen. But I think V.E. Schwab does a decent job of introducing dystopian along with sci-fi, along with pure fantasy elements into the books. So I thought this would be a good place to start. And this is a particular series that I have been wanting to get into, and it is a duology. So that would be none other than Vicious and Vengeful, which I do have here. I did decide to get these covers off of Amazon because I just thought they were so cool. And I like them a little bit better than the red covers that have been the primary covers that I've seen everywhere. But I thought these appeared quite fascinating. So from my understanding, this is like very X-Men meets school rivalry meets like supervillain meets dark academia. And I don't know if that's correct or not. For those who have read these books and have more experience with V.E. Schwab, please definitely leave your thoughts below because this is my second venture into these books. So I will read the back of the first one for you guys first. Victor and Ellie started out as college roommates, brilliant, arrogant, lonely boys who recognize the same ambition in each other. So that already gives me very much feelings of, you know, X-Men with Magneto and Xavier and their relationship. A shared interest in adrenaline, near-death experiences, and seemingly supernatural events reveals an intriguing possibility that under the right conditions, someone could develop extraordinary abilities. But when their thesis moves from the academic to the experimental, things go horribly wrong. 10 years later, Victor breaks out of prison, determined to catch up to his old friend, now foe, aided by a young girl with a stunning ability. Meanwhile, Eli is on a mission to eradicate every other superpowered person that he can find, aside from his sidekick, an enigmatic woman with an unbreakable will. Armed with terrible power on both sides, driven by the memory of betrayal and loss, the arch nemesises have set a course for revenge. But who will be left alive at the end? So again, very like superhero X-Men vibes combined with dark academia, combined with sci-fi. So I feel like this is going to be perfect for this theme. The second book in the series continues off where we left off, and this one says, actually at the top it says, funnily enough, Magneto and Professor X, Superman and Lex Luthor, Victor Vale and Eli Ever, Sydney and Serena Clark, great partnership now soured on the vine. But Marcella Riggins needs no one. Flush from her brush with death, she's finally gained the control she's always sought and will use her newfound power to bring the city of Merit to its knees. She'll do whatever it takes, collecting her own sidekicks and leveraging the two most infamous EOs, Victor Vale and Eli Ever, against each other once more. With Marcella's rise, new enmities create opportunity, and the stage of Merit City will once again be set for a final terrible reckoning. So I am excited to see where both of these different books take me. I'm very curious to see if it gives more X-Men vibes with sci-fi or if it's more dark academia. I think it might actually be a good contender for both genres, and both genres are ones that I tend to enjoy. So those are the first two up on the May TBR list. After that, I have two more of V.E. Schwab books, and these also happen to be special editions. I did do an unboxing for these books when they first came out, and I was so excited to receive them. I got these off of Illumicrate, and so I'm so excited to finally be sinking my teeth into them. The first one is called This Savage Song, and then the other one is called Our Dark Duet. And this is more monster, fantasy, dystopian vibes. So, to give an idea, enter the gritty, seething metropolis of V-City, a divided city where monsters have stepped out of the shadows and where choosing who you want to be is the first and the hardest fought battle. Kate Harker and August Flynn are the heirs to two families vying for control, raised in lives of violence, raised to rule. All Kate wants is to be as ruthless as her father, who lets the monsters roam free and makes the inhabitants pay for his protection. August just wants to be human, as good-hearted as his own father, but his curse is to be what the humans fear. Now, the thin truce that keeps the Harker and Flynn families at peace is crumbling, and an assassination attempt forces Kate and August into a tenuous alliance. But how long will they survive in a city where no one is safe and monsters are real? So this definitely feels like it's a combination of fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian, and like war vibes. So again, kind of gave me Superman, Lex Luthor vibes. So we'll see where this one takes me. Then I have Our Dark Duet, which is the second book in the series. And this one says, nearly 6 months after the events of This Savage Song, the peace between monsters and the humans has failed, and the terrifying reality is war. Kate Harker isn't afraid of the dark. She hunts monsters, and she's good at it. But now, in prosperity, she has become the ruthless hunter she knew she could be. August Flynn is a monster who can never be human, no matter how much he once yearned for it. Instead, he has become the leader he never wished to be. Now he has a part to play, and he will play it, no matter the cost. When a new monster emerges from the shadows, one who feeds on chaos and gives form to its victims' inner demons, it calls Kate home, luring the hunter into the trap. To escape, she'll face a monster she thought she killed, a boy she thought she knew, and a demon all of her own. So I thought this was going to be very interesting. I hope there's also a little bit of romance in that too, because it does sound like there might be hints of it. And I just am so excited to break into these beautiful copies. So it's going to be wonderful. Next up, I have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. This is a classic. I do try to do at least 1 or 2 classics per year. And as we all know, this Jules Verne, beautiful, stunning copy is in fact a classic. It is part of the Penguin Classics hardbound editions that I got from Barnes & Nobles. I love the effect of the cloth-bound cover along with the imprinted jellyfish on this. But basically, this is about the depths of the sea and the creatures that they find in it. There's definitely a sci-fi component to this as well, as new creatures and new machines are being discovered and created. And I just can't wait to read about the story and the journey that the main characters in this book go through as they go on their adventures in the sea. Next, I have Blake Crouch, who I have heard is also a very, very popular sci-fi author. In fact, I did notice both of these books at some point, and this author at some point has shown up on Book of the Month. And Book of the Month, I found I haven't really gone wrong with any of their books. There's a couple of books I would say were like 2-star reads for me, but it's more because of the vibes of the book and the premise of the book than it is the plot line of the book. So I thought, why not? Let's pick up some Blake Crouch. So this first book is called Recursion by Blake Crouch, and it has to do with like a medical disease type of situation, if I'm not mistaken. So let's talk about it. Reality is broken. At first, it looks like a disease, an epidemic that spread through no known means, driving its victims mad with memories of a life they never lived. But the force that's sweeping the world is no pathogen. It's just the first shockwave, unleashed by a stunning discovery. And what's in jeopardy is not our mind, but the very fabric of time itself. In New York City, Detective Barry Sutton is closing in on the truth, and in a remote laboratory, neuroscientist Helena Smith is unaware that she alone holds the key to this mystery and the tools for fighting back. Together, Barry and Helena will have to confront their enemy before they and the world are trapped in a loop of ever-growing chaos. From the best-selling author of Wayward Pines trilogy and Dark Matter, Recursion is a relentlessly paced, intricately plotted tale about time, identity, and memory, and the rare thriller that will astonish you just once, but again and again. So I think this sounds really fascinating to me too. It kind of gives me I Am Legend vibes a little bit, but without the crazy zombie vibes. It sounds like it may also be a little bit of maybe loops in time and things like that. So I think this could be a very interesting read, and I'm curious to see whether he also pulls from other cultures and religions, like if there's a concept of reincarnation or, you know, time on a loop or things like that that allows these memories to be accessed. I have no idea what this book is going to entail. I have no idea what the sci-fi component of this book is going to be, but I loved movies like Paycheck and Timeline, so I feel like if it has any of those vibes, I'm going to thrive with this book. I also really enjoyed I Am Legend when it came out with Will Smith, so super excited to see where Recursion takes me. Next up, I have Dark Matter by Blake Crouch as well. This book did release prior to Recursion, from my understanding, and this one has been extremely popular. It was also, as you can see, turned into TV. So I think it'll be interesting to see where this takes me, and then I may or may not also watch the show / movie to see how it compares to the book. So we'll see. But on the back, I have no idea what this is about, by the way. Let's read it together. Are you happy with your life? Those are the last words Jason Desson hears before the kidnapper knocks him unconscious, before he awakens to find himself strapped to a gurney surrounded by strangers in hazmat suits, before a man he's never met smiles down at him and says, "Welcome back, my friend." Is this world he's woken up to? In this world he's woken up to, Jason's life is not the one he knew. His wife is not his wife, his son was never born, and Jason is not an ordinary college professor, but a celebrated genius who has achieved something remarkable, something impossible. Is it this life or the other that's the dream? And even if the home he remembers is real, how will Jason make it back to the family he loves? From the author of the best-selling Wayward Pines trilogy, Dark Matter is a mind-bending thriller about choices, paths not taken, and how far we'll go to claim the lives we dream of. So again, sci-fi thriller vibes. This reminds me a lot of Inception, and I loved Inception as well. I think it's one of the best movies ever made. Shutter Island, I think, also gives me this type of vibe, just in a darker context. But this idea of what's real, what's not real, warped realities, what grounds you in, you know, reality, I think is going to be very interesting to read. So I'm curious to see where Blake Crouch takes me on this sci-fi dystopian journey. Then I have Andy Weir. Now, Andy Weir, I think The Martian was one of the best movies I have ever watched, and the book was absolutely excellent as well. So I'm very much hoping that this is going to give the same vibes. This book has also, from my understanding, won awards. It was at one point New York Times bestseller, and it is considered a pretty high-level option in the sci-fi genre space. So I thought I would definitely check it out and see what it has to offer. A lone astronaut, an impossible mission, an ally he never imagined. Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth itself will perish. Except that right now, he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how to complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home with nothing but 2 corpses for company. His crewmates dead, his memories fuzzily returning, Ryland realizes that an impossible task now confronts him. Hurtling through space on this tiny ship, he must puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery and conquer an extinction-level threat to our species. And with the clock ticking down and the nearest human being light years away, he's got to do it all alone. Or does he? So Project Hail Mary is a tale of discovery, speculation, and survival to rival The Martian while taking us to places it never dreamed of going. So I think this will be really interesting too. Again, this kind of gives me like stranded sci-fi, so like maybe a little bit of Interstellar in here. I don't know for sure, because it talks about how he might have allies, he may not. And again, confusion in terms of the timeline, slightly unreliable author is what I'm hearing, or sorry, unreliable narrator is what I'm hearing, but definitely like high stakes and has to save the world and humanity in the middle of space. So I thought this would be quite fascinating. I feel like it's also kind of Martian vibes in the fact that he's by himself trying to figure out where to go next and how to complete his mission. So I'm curious to see where this book will take me. The next 3 books, so the first book in this series is actually the book that was also selected for my book club. So the book club that I am part of, that I also have the lovely blessing and opportunity to host, is called the Overbooked Book Club. We meet on Facebook, and you are all welcome to join our group. We would love to have you. We do a Zoom call session that I usually put the link up for the day before or the day of, and we typically meet on Wednesday evenings at 5:30 PST, 8:30 EST in order to discuss these books. If that sounds like it's your space, definitely consider checking out the Overbooked Book Club on Facebook and joining our group. We would love to have you. We do vote on all the books that we read. And as you know, I mentioned it was a sci-fi vibe this month. So the books that I put up to choose from did include sci-fi or dystopian type of novels. And so this is actually a fantasy, I think more so than sci-fi, but it's like fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian combined is what it sounds like. So I'm curious to see where it takes us. This particular author of this trilogy is also one that I have had the pleasure of reading in the past few months. Her first book that I read is a combination of sci-fi and dystopian and dark academia. The second book that I read was completely different and very contemporary fiction, but makes you read about a character that you hate. So it's an antagonistic main author, but you're following on her journey of almost stolen identity and how she navigates the space of trying to maintain her cover. And I'm talking about none other than R.F. Kuang. So once I realized I am obsessed with Babel and I'm obsessed with Yellowface, I had to read her other series. And that is none other than The Poppy Wars, which is also the book that won 4-hour book club for this upcoming month of May. So let's read the back together. When war orphan Rin aced the Keiju, the empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to learn at the academics, she surprised everyone. Test officials, the guardians who wanted to marry her off, and further their criminal enterprise, and even herself. But being a dark-skinned peasant girl from the south is not easy at Singard, the most elite military school in Nikon. Targeted by rival classmates for her color, poverty, and gender, Rin discovers that gods long thought dead are very much alive and that she possesses a lethal, unearthly power, an aptitude for nearly mythical art of shamanism that could be the weapon the empire desperately needs. While Nikara is at peace, its enemies and former occupiers, the Federation of Mugen, bides its time, and a third Poppy War is just a spark away. Rin's shamanic powers may be the only way to save her people. Yet, as she discovers more about the god that has chosen her, the Vengeful Phoenix, she fears that winning the war may cost her humanity, and it may already be too late. So again, we'll see where this takes us. This is a Chinese-English translation, from my understanding. No, sorry, she herself, R.F. Kuang, is a Chinese-English translator. That explains a lot as to how she wrote Babel. But this is a book that I have heard wonderful things about. In fact, my brother-in-law just said that he was reading these books and he was really enjoying them. So he's actually my inspiration to check this book out. And then, of course, the book club just pushed me over the edge by selecting this book. So we'll see where this takes us. Then we have book 2, which is The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. 3 times throughout its history, Nikon has fought for its survival in the bloody Poppy Wars. Though the third battle has just ended, shaman and warrior Rin cannot forget the atrocity she committed to save her people. Now she's on the run from her guilt, the opium addiction that holds her like a vice, and the murderous commands of the fiery phoenix, the vengeful god who has blessed Rin with her fearsome power. Though she does not want to live, she refuses to die until she avenges the traitorous empress who betrayed Rin's homeland to its enemies. Rin's only hope is to join forces with the powerful dragon warlord who plots to conquer Nikon, unseat the empress, and create a new republic. But the empress and the dragon warlord are not what they seem. The more Rin witnesses, the more she fears her love for Nikon will force her to use the phoenix's deadly power once more. Because there's nothing Rin won't sacrifice to save her country and exact her vengeance. So that is the second book. And then the third book is called The Burning God, which I'm guessing has to do with the phoenix. After saving her nation of Nikon from foreign invaders and battling the evil Empress Su Daji in a brutal civil war, Fang Runin was betrayed by allies and left for dead. Despite her losses, Rin hasn't given up on those for whom she has sacrificed so much, the people of the southern provinces, and especially Tikani, the village that is her home. Returning to her roots, Rin meets difficult challenges and unexpected opportunities. While her new allies in the Southern Coalition leadership are sly and untrustworthy, Rin quickly realizes that the real power in Nikan lies with the millions of common people who thirst for vengeance and revere her as a goddess of salvation. Backed by the masses and her southern army, Rin will use every weapon to defeat the Dragon Republic, the colonizing Hesperians, and all who threaten the shamanic arts and their practitioners. As her power and influence grows, though, will she be strong enough to resist the Phoenix's intoxicating voice, urging her to burn the world and everything in it? So I think this will be an interesting series to read. It definitely, I feel like after reading the back, skews more towards fantasy, but there might be a, I guess, slight sci-fi component in it with the shamanistic stuff and what it has to do with technology and things. I don't know. We'll find out. I have no idea. I'm going into all of these books blind. So come with me on the journey. An author that I've also loved, who is a phenomenal author, writes very interesting books, definitely more sci-fi oriented, and also writes very, very delicately but beautifully woven stories in romance as well, in my humble opinion, but also talks about life and lessons learned along in this sci-fi worlds that he's creating, is TJ Klune. TJ Klune is one of my favorite authors that I've ever read. I think The House in the Cerulean Sea was an absolutely beautiful book. I know there's a lot of controversy about that because of the event he chose to write the book after, and I know a lot of people feel like he didn't do service to what actually happened, and it was a little callous towards the experiences that some of those haunted from those experiences went through with the loss of children and all these other things. But while I believe all of that is true, and while I do think it can be taken with that negative connotation, I truly felt like he wasn't trying to offend anyone, and I really enjoyed the storyline. So when I found out that Somewhere Beyond the Sea was releasing, I was like, I actually want to know what happens next. So this is the sequel to House in the Cerulean Sea, which is basically following a cast of misfit children and their orphanage director, who are living in a small house on the outcrops of the ocean overlooking the sea. Then they're divided from the village nearby because they are considered awkward or weird because they are not like other normal human beings. Meanwhile, there was someone who was sent from the government who was meant to shut down this orphanage or evaluate the orphanage to see if it should be shut down. And he comes in as a very broken man and leaves with much more purpose. And I just thought the book was so inspiring, so beautiful. The romance was so well written. And I also think in general, it was just a very inspiring story. The characters were just so easy to fall in love with. So when I found out the sequel was coming, I was like, I must read this. So this is Somewhere Beyond the Sea, which is the second book in the sequel. And in the series, sorry. So let's read what it's about. One magical family, 2 dedicated guardians, 6 dangerously gifted children, hence the sci-fi vibes. Arthur Parnassus has built a good life on the ashes of a bad one. He's the headmaster at an orphanage for magical children on a peculiar island, assisted by the love of his life, Linus Baker. Linus Baker was the main character in the previous book. And together, they'll do anything to protect their extraordinary and powerful charges. However, when Arthur is forced to make a public statement about his dark past, he finds himself fighting for those under his care. It's also a fight for the better future that all magical people deserve. But Arthur knows they've reached breaking points when a new orphan joins their island home. An orphan who finds power in calling himself a monster. A word Arthur has tried so hard to banish to protect his children. Challenged from within and without, their volatile family might grow stronger, or everything Arthur loves could fall apart. This is the charming and life-affirming sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea. I'm already tearing up because I know how much this book is going to break me, and I'm so ready for it. I'm so ready to be broken by this book. That is how long I've been waiting for this. Also, this is also a special edition that came from Illumicrate. Only waited on this for almost 9 months straight, so I'm so excited that it's finally here, and I can't wait to read it. Then I have the other book in these standalone series that he's kind of writing that has to do with these sci-fi, but like romance, life journey type of books. So the other one that he had written was the House, no, what is it called? Under the Whispering Door. So that one had to do with like life and afterlife and what to expect. This one is a completely different book, also sci-fi, based on a family of robots, and it's called In the Lives of Puppets. So I'm excited to see where this one will take me to. So let's read the inside of this one. Welcome to the heart of an unusual forest. A small treehouse has become home to a human named Victor and 3 robots, a pleasantly sadistic nurse machine, a small vacuum eager for love and attention, and a fatherly inventor android named Giovanni Lawson. Together they're a family, hidden and safe. One day, Vic salvages an unfamiliar android labeled HAP and learns that he and Geo share a dark past. Then HAP unwittingly reveals their location and Geo's captured by robots from his former life. The unconventional family must travel across hostile territory to save him from decommissioning or worse. Their destination, the city of electric dreams. Along the way, Vic must decide if he can handle his feelings for Hap, even if they come with strings attached. A masterful found family adventure from the author of The House in the Cerulean Sea and Under the Whispering Door. And I think this one's going to be fascinating too. So I'm very excited to jump into this book as well. And I just think it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful book. I can't wait to sink my teeth into both of these books. I know they are going to make me bawl. I know they are going to make me so sad, but I shall prevail because it is worth reading books that make you question, I think, reality and make you think outside of the box. I also love the fact that all of these books have so much potential in terms of what humanity could be, all these types of things. I just think it's fascinating to read sci-fi books because it really does question this idea of technology and human interaction. And with AI moving as fast as it is in today's society, I think it's a fascinating concept and read, especially as more and more AI is making its way into the medical field, which I know is gigantic strides. And I know there's a long way to go in that regard as well. But as a physician, I just think it's a very fascinating concept. And so it's curious to see where all these AI sci-fi, type dystopian novels take us. I'm also part of another book club, which is known as PG&E. It is run by a lovely, lovely woman named Lisa Marie Landreth. She's phenomenal. She and her group of wonderful women friends have basically created this beautiful platform for us to come together and discuss books. She also runs a Bible study. As a Hindu, I do not participate in that, but I do love how open and welcoming they are. And I like the fact that overall, like the overall feels and vibes of this community is very much like womanly support, support for all people from all different dominions and backgrounds, and this idea of moving forward, growing forward, and paying back to the community. And I just absolutely love that. And the books that we select, I think, are also very unique and they're fun to read. And we typically meet on the last Thursday of every month. She is currently running her club through communities, and I think she's still on Patreon. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely consider checking out her channel as well. She's been doing this for ages. I think it's been almost 10 years if I'm not mistaken, and she is a wonderful, wonderful host, and she does a great job with the club. The book that we're reading for May is One Friday in Napa by Jennifer Ham. Unfortunately, I do not have a physical copy of this book to show you guys. I do have it on my Nook, but my Nook is completely dead and currently charging, which is why I cannot physically show you the book. But let me see if I can pull it up on my phone so you guys can at least see the cover here. But I just think it's going to be such a fun time being able to read this book. It sounds like it's going to be a warm book, like a happy book, if you will. So I think it'll be a fun read. And here is what the novel looks like. One Friday in Napa, again by Jennifer Ham. And just for personal reasons, I tend to go into these novels completely blind. So I actually love reading them. Fun fact though, this is a debut by this author. So it is her first novel. So I think that also makes it a little bit extra special as well. And that, my dears, brings me to the conclusion of my TBR for May. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope it was something that strikes your fancy or seems interesting. If any of these books are books you have read, loved, hated, whatever it might be, please leave your comments below. I always love hearing about your experiences with books as well. And if you have any other recommendations for books in the future that should make it into the sci-fi month, please let me know because I would be happy to consider those as well. And I have always thought I was not a sci-fi girl until I realized I've read so many sci-fis recently and loved them. Like I loved Scythe. I loved Rising. I absolutely loved the, what is that series called? I'm enjoying Renegades, but I'm only on the first book, so I don't know where the series is going to take me, but I think that's also a very interesting futuristic philosophy. I love Mr. Turton Stewart's books. They're phenomenal. All three of the books that he's written are basically sci-fi fantasy combos, and they're great. 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn, Hardcastle, The Last Murder at the End of the Earth, and his Devil in the Dark Waters were absolutely phenomenal books. Some of the favorite books I've ever read. So I do think there's a lot to be said about sci-fi. I just think it's sometimes difficult to identify what sci-fi is because I think there's so much bleeding across genres that occurs when it comes to sci-fi. So I haven't had too many books that I would classify as like true 100% sci-fi. Like I feel like a lot of books are like sci-fi thriller, or they're like sci-fi fantasy, or they're like sci-fi dystopian, which I guess dystopian is a form of sci-fi or a subgenre of sci-fi. So that's also convoluted. But I feel like back in the day, like Ender's Game was very clearly sci-fi, and now books span so many other genres as well. So it makes it a little bit more tricky. So if you guys have like true sci-fi and you feel like these books don't quite hit the par, but you do think it's worth reading, leave me those recommendations too, because I'd be happy to read them. I also remember loving Dune when I read it. I also loved the Ender's Game series as well. So for someone who thought they didn't like sci-fi, I've come to realize that I really do, which is also why I would say if you guys like any kind of fiction in general, you're in the right place, because I promise I will find books for all of you, because I've realized it doesn't matter what genre it is, as long as it's fiction, I'm probably going to like it. I think contemporary fiction, contemporary romance is probably the one that I'm have the hardest time with. But even then, like when you think about series like Beartown, or you think about like Anxious People and things like that, those are amazing books, amazing books. Another sci-fi crossover contemporary fiction that I thought was absolutely phenomenal was My Murder. When I first read that book, I was like, this is a 2-star read, but then I finished it and I was like, this is great. So I'm actually really excited to do a full month dedicated to the sci-fi genre and really see where they take me, because I don't really think I've given this genre enough of a chance to have its own standalone month. So I'm excited to do that. Definitely leave me your comments below. Please consider hitting that like button and that subscribe button if it is something you're interested in and you would like to stay up to date with all the videos that come out. As always, I cannot thank all of you enough for your watches. I can't thank you enough for being a part of the community. I cannot thank you enough for supporting this dream, because honestly, I'm just trying to create a community that loves books. And it has just been so reaffirming to see so many of you come back and stick around and leave me comments, and everyone has just been so kind, and I truly immensely appreciate every single one of you. That being said, wherever you are, have a wonderful rest of your day, whether it's morning, evening, or night, and I can't wait to catch you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.